Welcome to Day Zero Update for February 15th, 2026. I'm your host, Chris Salogi.
I'm Brandon Perkins.
And I'm Dan Rep Victorio.
And yeah, we've got a big week of news as we missed last week because let's say there was no time to do a
Super
show.
Bowl.
With the Super Bowl, Brandon and
Yep.
I's birthdays, kind of just
Mm-hmm.
compressing the time and giving us no real time to do anything. So we ended up skipping it and coming back with a new slate of news. And boy, a lot of stuff happened as we had a PlayStation State of Play with a bunch of stuff in that, as well as, let's say, a bunch of studios decided to lay off a bunch of their people for various reasons, as well as
Just the way the trend is going, just the whole industry is sloughing off. You know, its workforce by the dozens, basically every day.
yeah, and we have a number of other games announcing release dates and such. So we'll get to that stuff here
Mm-hmm.
a little bit later. But we talk about what we've been playing, and I'll kick it off here. I have a review going up by the time you hear this
Mm-hmm.
for a game called Under the Island, an indie game from a team of devs that used to work on. I forget what the games were, but yeah, they've worked on some notable games. It was a pretty small team. I beat the game. There was probably like six to 10 devs on there.
Mm-hmm.
Working on this, and it is a Zelda-like, probably more specifically a Link to the Past style game. Set on this island, that your character's parents have been hired to go and do research there, and that means you're going to be stuck there for the summer. No phone, no friends, no nothing. So you're playing a teenage girl named Nia, who is not happy about devoting a whole summer to this random isolated island. And pretty quickly you meet a friend, a girl named Avocado, who shows you this shrine to this deity that people kind of pay respects to, or else bad things happen, I guess. And immediately you desecrate it and get dropped into this dungeon that you find out that this isn't really an island, it is an ark that is slowly sinking into the ocean of and was made by an ancient race that seems to be down to just one remaining member. And they kind of send you on this quest to find the 4 gears that have been stolen from this ark, to help get it back in running order. And that, as you can figure out, means there's 4 dungeons to go through. But the way they build this as like a cozy game, essentially, means that there's kind of a lot of variety to this game. Like I mentioned in the review, I don't really spoil too much of what happens in the later dungeons, but the first dungeon, you don't even fight a boss. You kind of go to this greenhouse dungeon that you're essentially trying to get to this show that needs your help to get it running. And so you end up solving some simple puzzles to fix parts of the set and that kind of stuff. The most combat you get is essentially like a bunch of fans rush the stage from the backstage area, and so you have to kind of fight these enemies and stop them from getting from one side of the screen to the other. That's like the most boss fights ish kind of thing of this first dungeon. I spent a good bit trying to figure out like what exactly would be cozy about this, because it's not that there's no combat or that it's easy combat or anything like that. There's plenty of combat and challenging combat, and I died a decent bit throughout the game. I think it's more the variety of things that are going on. The stakes of what's going on is not the Zelda style end of the world kind of thing. Um, so it gets to a point with that. You ultimately find a bad guy that's responsible for everything that's going on, and there is plenty of combat to this game, so it's not really that kind of use of cozy. Kind of is like a thing that I'm like, I'm not sure exactly what's cozy other than like maybe a general vibe to this game. But
Mm-hmm.
even then, you get to some areas with enemies that will tear your shit up if you're not paying attention and are not able to figure out exactly what is the best way to handle some of these enemies. And that's not to say all the dungeons don't have bosses. There's bosses at the end of some of them, but some
Mm-hmm.
do things that kind of change up what you are expecting, and it does a pretty good job of that stuff. And it also has a bunch of side content to the game. Things that I would say it maybe doesn't do enough to help you track that stuff. Because, like in your inventory screen, you may see some of the items you need for that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
if you go long enough without, remembering what the hell that was for, you may end up just running into the person that needs it and you're like, oh, can I have that? And it's like, I guess so. And you might get a reward and you just don't remember what was going on there. There's nothing tracking
Mm-hmm.
any of that stuff. Like the most impactful of that kind of stuff is like, oh, you get heart coins that you collect, and every four you can turn into upgrade your health, add a new heart onto that. Um, but it doesn't track like how many there is in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I assume it's 2 rows of hearts, which would be 18 hearts, and you get juice that increases adds another heart to your total after each
Mm-hmm.
dungeon. But the coins seem to be the rest. But when I beat the game, it wasn't like I got a stat screen of like, oh, you got 20 of 32 of these coins or anything. There's nothing. It's like, oh, this area you got 3 out of 4 coins that are here, kind of thing. It does a poor job of keeping track of a lot of that stuff, and like those are things that I
Mm-hmm.
would add to the like cozy vibes that this could have, as if it's had a good quality of life um, system for keeping track of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, it's a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a merchant in the town that is uh, that upgrades your weapon and all that. But it never tells you how many of the materials you need for those upgrades. You just see a red number or a blue number, which means you
Mm-hmm.
have enough or you don't have enough. And so there's plenty
Mm-hmm.
of times I've come back because I'm like, oh, I got 2 more of these things. It's like, is that what I need to do this upgrade? And it's still red, and I'm like, well, what the fuck? How do I know what I need for this? And like that seems like something that should be easily fixed, but uh, that would be a thing that has to be addressed post launch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a day one update, but I haven't heard anything about that. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of things like that where I think a thing that would help out the quality of life of these kind of games, these kind of Zelda games, is
Mm-hmm.
very much your quality of life options for
Mm-hmm.
tracking things, keeping track of collectibles and that kind of stuff. Um, there's plenty of side content to this that kind of has you going all around the map. There's like a golf mini game. Um, there's some puzzle solving and some really interesting areas, and yeah, it's got a lot of stuff going on there that uh, really makes it feel like a fun one of these, and it's kind of at a
Mm-hmm.
quicker pace since it's only 4 dungeons and like one boss dungeon at the end that you're kind of moving through pretty quickly. So even with me getting lost, um, kind of wandering around in this map until I realized that the tips it was giving me were for specific names on areas that I wasn't paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to because when you look at the map, there's no names on it. you have to hit a button to pull up the names. So it's like, oh,
Mm.
this is what they were talking about. And it doesn't, put any markers on there for where you need to go. It just shows you where the gears are at. Do you know the general
Mm.
direction of where you need to go for the gears? But
Yeah.
some of the areas are like, oh, you need to go get this thing, and that's in a different area. And so you kind of travel around a bit in some of these places. And so I was like looking for where I needed to go for the third dungeon. I ended up exploring
Mm-hmm.
this whole other area, uh, and uncovered it all on the map. That was the area for the fourth dungeon. I was like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? And I realized the hint that it gives uh, mentions a farm. It was telling me north. I was like, oh, north of where the guy was telling me to go. Like, no, it's this different area, and I found it in like 5 seconds. I knew exactly where I needed to go at that point, but I wandered around for probably a good 30 minutes or so. But
Mm-hmm.
I beat the game in about like 9.5 hours, which I feel is a pretty good amount of time for one of these games when it's
Mm-hmm.
trying to be a little bit easier, but it's not an easy game by any stretch. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a cakewalk. Because I, upgraded my health a good bit. I had some good undeserved power in this game. I'm feeling like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I can fuck around and take damage pretty easily, which resulted in me, dying a bunch. But I had some really neat mechanics with different kinds of tools that you get. I had 8 of the 9 tools that I could use. So I don't know what the ninth one is, but presumably I can keep exploring and find more things because it just kind of kicks you back out to the overworld before you go and fight the boss after you
Mm-hmm.
beat the game, and so I can go do more there. Um, so yeah, it's a very fun game. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the price is on this because it's not available for pre-order anywhere. I assume it'll be like $15 to $20 at most.
Mm.
I feel like that's a pretty solid price for this, and it's on everything: PlayStation, Xbox,
Mm.
Switch, and PC. For that, and yeah, it was a very fun time. I was excited to
Mm.
play this because yeah, it's got some nice stuff going on for it. I think the art style is really well done.
Mm.
Um, it's very influenced by the general style of A Link to the Past, but everything is done in such a fun bit of variety. Like there's no because it's set in the modern day. You know, what would be like the equivalent of like 2025 or
Mm.
2026. So there's no like fantasy elements to it. You're not fighting fantasy style enemies. You're fighting like cactus dudes and onion enemies and these
Mm.
weird tree goobers that slam their fucking trunks on you from a distance, and a bunch of other enemies that get around. Has fishing, a really weird fishing mechanic. There's what else? There's a real fun like fire mechanic to this. As you get like a fire flower
Mm.
equivalent to shoot fire in the distance, and it has certain kinds of plants that will propagate the fire between them, and they have puzzles and such designed around uh,
Mm.
setting off cascading fire for that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a game I definitely recommend if you want one of these, especially one that is not going to be too punishing and has some good vibes around it. It's got some rough edges around it, and some of that can probably easily be fixed in a post-launch update. Um, but other things are just the kind of game it is. So yeah, hopefully they improve on it. But yeah, it was a really fun time to explore, and I'm still going to keep playing it because I like to explore more of the map and find more stuff I missed. So yeah, there's that, and that review will be going up in the morning. I got Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, a game that I've never really put much time into before. I have the 3DS game, and I have no clue how much time I put into it. Um, I maybe put a few hours and moved on because it's that kind of Dragon Quest game where it's not the traditional style of campaign of just, you know, moving into new areas and doing all that kind of stuff. It has a weird premise initially where you are on this island that the the kids here are brought up to supposedly believe that it is the only island in the entire world, that you are surrounded by ocean, despite this island, having one town, a castle, and like a couple of caves and such. The kids do not believe that. They believe like there has to be stuff out there, and they're plotting for ways to find this out. And they eventually do find these weird tablets that essentially act as like fast travel points to other islands on the planet, and that ends up being like a mini adventure you're going on. I've gone through the first island, went pretty well. Did a decent bit of grinding to the point that it has like an Earthbound style. You're too powerful for the enemy, so we'll let you just kill it here on the the dungeon screen, and we'll give you a little bit of XP and gold, but you don't have to do a fight or anything. That's where I was kind of at by the end of that whole area. And yeah, once you do that, then the island just magically appears next to your hometown island. Everybody's like, oh, "What? I thought there was nothing else out here. How'd they miss this island?" It's like, because it didn't exist until these kids did some shit that somehow brought it to the next to your island. Then you get a boat to ride around, and that's all weird. You get into classic JRPG random battles off of the boat versus the rest of the time where the enemies are wandering around the overworld or the dungeons, and you can initiate fights or run away from them, whatever you want. And I've been enjoying it so far. I can definitely see where this kind of game didn't grab people, at least here in the West, compared to Japan, where I believe it was still pretty popular over there. Whereas when it came out here on the PS1, pretty late in its life, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. And people moved on, like, when's the next Final Fantasy? Or whatever was going to be more interesting when it came out, because I think it came out around the same time as Final Fantasy X. And it's like the juxtaposition between the PS1 Dragon Quest VII that looked fine for when it came out on a PS1 to Final Fantasy X, which looked incredible for that time. That was kind of the big thing that kind of made it harder for people to get into here in the West. But yeah, this seems to improve things a bit. I think I like the environment art style more than the character art styles. Because the characters are kind of more weird, like action figure style of art. Whereas all the environments are kind of more dioramas that look really nice. So anytime I see close-ups of some of these characters, I'm just like, ugh, Kiefer's kind of ugly. But I got the edition that came with a bunch of extra costumes, so I have changed up their look a bit. So the main character now has the same costume as the Dragon Quest VIII character. I forget what the fancy names they have for him, because I know like the Luminary is the 11 protagonist. But I forget what the other ones are called. They have like weird little names because they never have official names for these characters. They just have like a term for them. But that's been fun.
Yeah, I think everybody prior to 11 was just...
Yeah. So there's that. That seems like a pretty solid game. Let's see. I've been playing some Reloaded, which is out on PC and Xbox. And it's sort of the current anti-woke focus right now. Because it is a game about Africans trying to steal their artifacts back from the museums that have essentially... There's a treaty to reclaim these artifacts back to their homelands, but only for artifacts that are on public display, so museums just put them in storage. and never made them publicly available again, so they did not have to send them back. And so you're part of this crew, this Avengers crew that's trying to steal these real artifacts back from these museums. And you are playing essentially like a 2D platformer, like speedrun heist kind of game. You're kind of able to go around and explore these areas and kind of case the joint and see like, okay, here's where the item is. What's the path I want to take to get out of here as fast as possible? And you could generally get out pretty easily as sort of a baseline, but they do have sort of a scoring system to go with your, how long it took you, how many scans you did of other things that are in those museums, and how you're using the shortcuts and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they let you replay them. I assume they do, but once you beat it, it does give you like an option to replay it right away. But I assume it's lets you do more of that later. But I'm a few hours in, and essentially we've gone from just meeting in like the library or whatever to having a separate like tower we're hanging out at for our like headquarters. And so that's where you're kind of doing a lot of your story stuff, talking to your different crew members, as well as figuring out what you're going to do next and doing all that kind of stuff. It plays pretty well. Looks really nice. Some good music and all that. And luckily the shitty races are not overwhelming the other people, though the Steam forums are basically useless because they are flooding it with topics. So the devs basically named that general forum the non-buyers discussions and created a new forum, sub-forum that is just for people that have purchased the game, that you have to actually own the game to be able to post in. So that's kind of a fun thing there that they did. But like there's no review bombing because not many of these people are actually buying the game. But if you go look on the Steam reviews, you'll see some of these reviews have like dozens of comments on them. And I've reported one comment that was essentially an acronym of the N-word. So they just typed out, a sentence of a sort, but there's one that just cites crime statistics and others that are referencing, I can't breathe and that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, these are a lot of shitty people. They at least took the acronym one down. I didn't report any of the others yet, but as far as I can tell, the negative reviews are getting drowned out by the positive. So right now there's 148 total. Only 24 of those are negative. So the overall review on Steam is very positive. So they're not able to take over that because they're not willing to buy the game that they're so racist about. So that's good news, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It looks like all reviews are very positive. So
yeah,
it clearly has an audience.
Yeah, seems to be doing all right. People are trying to cite the concurrent numbers, and it's like it's a single player game. It doesn't matter. I believe it's also on Game Pass on Xbox and PC, so you can check it out there if you want. I supported the devs because I wanted to. In the face of all the hate they're getting, but yeah, been enjoying that. Definitely gonna play some more of it. And the last game I have to talk about is God of War: Sons of Sparta. We'll talk about that's the game they ended the state of play on. And the game was out that day. It is a Metroid style game set in the God of War universe. Kind of talking about a part of Kratos' life that you only get to see glimpses of in Ghost of Sparta, the PSP game, the second one, with Kratos and his brother Deimos as young Spartans. They seem like they're teenage age, maybe more closer to like the 14, 15-year-old versus maybe 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not as tall as the other Spartans you run into.
Right.
And their voices are not, it's not the classic Kratos voice. It sounds like a much younger, higher voice than T.C. Carson or Christopher Judge. So the art style's pretty good from what I've seen so far. It kind of reminds me, and they've gone for like a deliberately retro style to it. I would liken it to like a high-res GBA game. You remember when GBA games went for a more realistic proportions to characters versus, your typical cartoony, Mario style look for characters. It has a more detailed version of that works pretty well for me. You can obviously see some of its lower budgetness to it. You don't when they're talking, and the voice lines and all that. The heads are just kind of bopping around a bit as they're talking. There's no real extra detail to any of that stuff. And the game is pretty wordy for the first few hours as Kratos and Deimos are kind of talking to each other about things, talking to people throughout. Because once you get to the main Spartan village, there's kind of a good bit of area to explore and find new quests and such for things to do. But I did have a bit of a buggy time with this game. I got to like an arena area that seemed like a place where I could start some like combat arena stuff, but the menu never worked on that. I would hit the button to like start it or at least try to engage with it, and it never worked. I had some menu stuff that bugged out, and I feel like I don't know if it was a bug or not, but it pops up, control tips. And if I missed that, I just did not figure out what it was telling me to do. So one of the earliest ones you get, you do like a boss fight right away that's just early combat stuff. And then you kind of go explore the area nearby and you need to drop down. And for whatever reason, by default, you would think you just use the jump button to drop down levels. It's actually using triangle separate button. And it's triangle's never listed anywhere in the control mappings as being tied to any of this. Luckily, they do have an accessibility option to change that to the jump button. So you use X to, you hold down and X to drop down on stages. So I eventually figured that out, but I ended up restarting because I was like, I don't know how to do any of this. I just missed a prompt that said press triangle to drop down. But the archive section of the menu doesn't fill up with any of that stuff until a good bit later into the game. So I was like very confused if that was a bug or not, because I feel like if you're telling me stuff that would go in there, and when it did unlock, it would show those gameplay tips, those like control tips. It's like that stuff should be unlocked as soon as you're getting things that would fill that up. And so I don't know if that was a bug or I just had some weird issue that was perpetuated by me not paying attention to where the pop-up was happening when I was looking elsewhere on the screen when it popped up. And it has weird menu stuff where it wants you to acknowledge when it's introducing new mechanics and you have to hold down the button to do it. As far as I know, you can't change that to a tap. So it kind of ends up with some weird moments where you're just holding down the button where I'm naturally trying to just hit the button to skip through, and I realize I have to hold down the button. And it has that for doors as well. You have to hold down the button to go into a door versus just hitting the button to go in. And I think there's an option to change that for the doors. Luckily, this game has a ton of accessibility options, even to the point where you can, if you're not sure what noises are, like UI noises are, they have an area where you can just have it, produce those noises for different things to be like, oh, that's what I'm hearing. It's, it's a talking noise that like talking's about to begin or whatever it is. They have some good colorblind options so that you can have different parts of the UI change color to whatever stands out most for you, versus the usual where it's like the three kind of types of color blindness that they've automatically decided what could work best for that. So that often doesn't work for colorblind people. They just forgo that with the thing that lets you alter that as needed. And so yeah, like the accessibility stuff is really well done. There could still be maybe a couple more things to change to that, because like the menu as somebody that can understand a lot of basic mechanics that are being introduced pretty quickly, versus having to hold down the button for like 5 seconds instead to get through a multi-parts thing that's popping up. But yeah, it's pretty fun, like 2D Metroidy kind of game. The action works pretty well. It takes a bit getting used to some of it because it's got a lot of options that you can unlock for on the skill tree that are like, you can dodge roll through an enemy and hit square to initiate like a counter attack right away, kind of stuff. And there's a lot of like fine depth there for things that you can unlock with the blood orbs that you collect as you're playing through the game. And it also has a bunch of other stuff to unlock with that. There's like these things that are essentially acknowledge that you've been in this area. And there's one that costs a ton of money, a ton of orbs. And apparently that also unlocks a way for it to tell you where secrets are at more easily. So it's like, I saw somebody mention that. I was like, then I should just save up for that, because that seems like a very useful thing to have versus just these extra little gameplay combat things. The bosses can be pretty tough. There's one early boss that really fucked me up before I really got the hang of it, because like the jumping was like one of those bosses that dive bombs into the ground and causes a wake in it that you have to jump over to avoid damage. Otherwise, if you're not able to get that timing right, you're just getting fucked up pretty easily. And I eventually got that timing down pretty well. So yeah, like the boss fights have been pretty good. It does a good job of keeping track of your map stuff. I believe it has the Prince of Persia style take a picture of the screen you're on when you run into like a dead end thing that you need a new upgrade or something to take on. But I have not used it yet for that. But it also loves its quest map, or its quest section that has like, you parry X amount of times to get a bronze medal, a silver medal, gold medal, and platinum medal. It's like 200 times. I'm like, boy, if I get to double digits of parries, that'll be versus doing it 200 fucking times. So yeah, there's a lot of depth to the combat if you're gonna get real good at it. But it's a bit stiff early on as you try to get the hang of it. But yeah, I've been enjoying that a good bit so far. $30 is maybe a little much for this, but it seems like it's going to be a lengthy campaign. It doesn't seem like it's going to be like a 10-hour campaign, at least the first time I'm playing it, because I don't feel like I'm anywhere close to beating the game after a few hours, and I think it's showing me like a 4 or 5% completion. So yeah, I think it's going to be like potentially like a 20 to 30 hours maybe, but we'll see. But yeah, that's been pretty much what I've been doing. So how about you, Brandon?
Well, as for me, I have been, one of the things I played last night, I played the demo for The Adventures of Elliot Millennium Tales, which is that it's one of those 2.5 HD games that kind of looks like Octopath, but it's not Octopath, and in fact it plays nothing like Octopath. In fact, it plays a lot like The Legend of Zelda, or like one of the old Mana games, or Ys for that matter. And it's actually like the actual game I found very fun and entertaining. One of the things about the demo I found kind of is story-wise, they're sort of, playing their cards very close, and in fact, it comes off very generic starting off. It's like the king summons this adventurer because they find some new ruins and they need a guy to go, so, Elliot shows up. He's the one who goes. He's got a little blue fairy companion that comes around with him that assists him in battle, helps him pick up items, stuff like that. And Elliot himself, he's got a sword, he's got a shield to help block attacks. In fact, he's got a his shield can be used for like exact blocking, like basically something akin to like parrying, like you would do in a Dark Souls game, where he can do stuff like he can send them backwards, he can like reflect like arrows or stuff back to the enemy and stun them, that kind of thing. There's some like mild platforming as well that's there. And all in all, like, it's a pretty fun game, and it looks gorgeous too. My one caveat is the fact that there are parts, like with the dungeon that you get to play in this demo, there are parts of it where it's kind of difficult to like suss out exactly where it is you need to go sometimes, because because it I can't really explain it without like having someone actually play that temple, because it's kind of it's like dark. It's like a cave. It's like double layered because there's like an upper part that's connected by like bridges, and then there's a lower part that's like at the bottom that's got like water, like ankle deep water on it, and you have to like sort of go up and down them numerous times, and there's also like a whole stairway thing where you got to like go upstairs, down the stairs, so you're going to up and down multiple floors numerous times before you finally get to the boss. Plays very similarly to your classic Zelda, until the very end, where you come across what they call a time gate, where I'm guessing is going to involve some like time travel mechanics and everything. And I've got this thing in the back of my head that's thinking, this is all way too simple. There's got to be a lot more that's actually happening underneath the surface in this game, for it to sound like this generic. And the game doesn't come out until June, and honestly, I kind of want to see where this game's going to go, because if it looks like it wants to be one of those types of games that tries to like deconstruct its narrative and everything, and sort of the whole idea of like an adventurer like Elliot and stuff like that, which, if it does like what like the Bravely Default games did, which is take a typical JRPG thing and then basically turn it inside out, I'm all for that, because I love that type of thing. But other than that, I also have been playing more of Donkey Kong Bonanza. I finished I say finished. It more or less is like the end of the main campaign, but there's like a lot of post-game content that comes afterwards, where you get like a true ending after you go through all of it. But it involves essentially like once you get to like the end of that game and you get to like the last area, the game like it brings up a lot of questions, because as anybody who has played the game or has seen the game, seen videos of it, you'll know that, and it's like not even like a spoiler or anything. The game, they make it pretty obvious. The Donkey Kong is basically accompanied through this game by Pauline, but Pauline in this one is a 13-year-old girl who doesn't really have a lot of self-confidence about her singing ability and all that. And which is all in that's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of a neat idea. It's like a origin story. It makes it really cool. But the thing is, since, this whole game, it basically takes place underground, and you're going deeper and deeper into the planet until you eventually get the core, and every layer you go into is essentially like its own self-contained universe with like villages and like people that are living there. You eventually get one that's called the racing layer, and it's a place where you end up running into none other than Diddy and Dixie Kong from Donkey Kong Country fame. And they have not aged a day. And I'm like, okay, this brings up so many questions of like how this is supposed to work. And then at the
once I got to
very
that
end,
point in the game, I was like, time doesn't matter anymore.
yeah, and then you get to the very end of the game, and none other than King K. Rool himself shows up, and then it's like, and it makes it sound like he's been gone a long time, and I'm like, okay, now I'm really confused. um, And then there's like that whole thing where you end up fighting him at the end, and you end up in New Donk City and all that stories and stuff. And it's like, okay, at this point, Nintendo has just kind of thrown their hands up and said, screw it. Because none of this shit makes any more sense. But yeah, it is. That said, it is an incredibly enjoyable game. I've really had fun playing it, and I'm hoping to get like the after game stuff done, which is difficult because it involves you going out and hunting for more bananas and everything, and doing like a bunch of like trials and stuff to get to it. But yeah, it's really fun. And last but not least, the other thing I've been playing, of course, is Trails Beyond the Horizon, and I haven't really been playing a whole bunch of it because I've been kind of focusing on DK Bonanza because I'm trying to get it over with so I can get back to Mio. But suffice it to say, I was really happy to be back in that universe again, to be back in Calvert again, to be with all those characters again, and I'm prepared for my 60 to 70 hours of gameplay. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. So, Dan Reb, what about you?
Awesome. Yeah, happy to hear you're playing that stuff. Luckily, Trails Beyond the Horizon is actually the shortest game in the current trilogy, so I think you'll be okay. And then, yeah, just talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza real quick, it's like, I think this is Nintendo trying to unretcon themselves out of timelines, and like that seems to be the only logical answer there. But yeah, glad you're having fun with all that. Obviously, it's been a while since we've done the show, so I've been playing quite a few things, a lot of stuff secret. But now that we've had a few weeks, I can go ahead and talk about what I'm playing almost fully. The main game that I've been playing for the last few weeks was Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties. I did not review it for SmashPad because SmashPad did not get a code, probably for reasons I'll talk about in a little bit. But our friend Miles from Temple of Geek gave me a code there, so I reviewed it for their site. And I gave it a 6 out of 10, which, isn't a very good score. That being said, I did have fun with the game, but there are definitely some things in there that just make it seem like just another run-of-the-mill Yakuza and nothing special. So the big thing about Yakuza 3, and mind you, Yakuza 3 is, it's not anybody's favorite Yakuza. I'll just put it at that. But the big thing about Yakuza 3 is that you really see Kiryu just go on total dad mode, because this is when he has his orphanage, Morning Glory, in full operation. And yeah, like that's actually going to be like one of the focal points for the game and the side stories, and that was the case with the original game. But with Kiwami 3, they really turn it into its own sort of meta. It's like in chapter 3 or 4 or something like that, where everything that you do at Morning Glory pretty much like becomes a cozy game. So if you go back to Infinite Wealth with Dodonko Island, it's almost pretty much a carbon copy of that, but it really is just a bunch of mini games that you've compiled from previous Yakuza games. For example, there is a cooking mini game, which is pretty much the same cooking mini game from Pirate Yakuza, and then there's bug catching, which was also in Infinite Wealth. But there is some new stuff there. One thing is sewing. There's a sewing mini game where Kiryu can just make a whole bunch of like different tapestry or apparel, and they can go ahead and sell it so that Morning Glory can profit that way. As you're doing each of these side quests, you can go ahead and raise your relationship with each of the kids there. And like the reason why this is a big focus in the first place is because Haruka, his adopted daughter, is pretty much like being the main mom or matron in the orphanage, like taking care of everybody, helping out with the homework. And Kiryu's like, all right, I gotta go ahead and help manage things here as well. And yeah, it just ends up being a wholesome, cozy experience, and I really enjoyed that. But there's a real Yakuza game here. There's a real plot centered around some political stuff that ends up affecting Okinawa, where Kiryu now lives. And basically, what happens is the Yakuza and Japan want to take over that part of Okinawa and build some real estate there. And it all just happens to fall on where Morning Glory is. So, yeah, that doesn't make Kiryu happy. So it pretty much just brings him back to Kamurocho so you can do typical Yakuza stuff. One of the most important characters in that game is Yoshitaka Mine. He is probably like one of the most popular villains, if you will, and he is the main character in Dark Ties, which is the main reason why a lot of the current fans want to pick this game up. So with Dark Ties, you pretty much see Yoshitaka Mine's rise to prominence as to how he became a chairman for his own Yakuza family. But then, like, when you play the game, honestly, it doesn't even feel like a full-on game. It doesn't even feel like The Man Who Erased His Name. It honestly just feels like a whole bunch of Yakuza side quests put together in a DLC, and it doesn't really feel like a full experience from there. You really just go through a bunch of different quests to get to the ending, and yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending because obviously that's a huge thing there. But yeah, I wasn't that big a fan of it. The main thing that it does different is, you're using a different character, so he has a different fight style. It's actually pretty fun to use him. And then all of the side quests, or not all of them, but the majority of the side quests that you do are so you can be in service to another Yakuza, Kanda, who is like, one of the most disgusting and vile and toxic Yakuzas in that world. And then basically you want to build his reputation, and then every time you build his reputation, he decides to take you to a soapland and stuff like that. So it's pretty funny stuff there. That guy actually like dies in the Yakuza 3 story, so it's funny just trying to build his rep, even though what's going to happen to him later. I'm not going to say how, but it's pretty obvious like from then on. Anyway, just to go back to the controversy, what happened in a nutshell was one of the other villains in the game was recasted, and they used his likeness and everything, and apparently he was... I'm forgetting the word, but basically there was some controversy where he put himself on a woman, and then he eventually admitted to it. And obviously, like, that's caused the Yakuza community to say, "Oh no, why is Sega still bringing this guy in? It's not good for the series," and whatever it may be. And yeah, like, if you were to play the original Yakuza 3, like, his likeness was way more menacing than it is today. And then Sega or people in RGG, they didn't really defend what they did, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, this guy's a total freak, so he's totally going to fit the freak package. And I'm like, yeah, this is not going to go over well. So, yeah, Ryoga Gotoku has, like, lost a lot of goodwill with this release. And the hard part is the game isn't really that great to begin with. So, it'll be rough seeing, what they do from here. That being said, like, the game itself isn't bad, but it's not a game that I totally recommend at $60, $50, $40. Like, I would probably buy this at 15 and be solid with it. But yeah, it's definitely not a crown jewel for RGG as we speak. Moving on, I've also been playing a little bit of Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. Lee reviewed that game for us, but I did play quite a bit of it here and there, around 8 hours of it. And for the most part, I do agree with his review. I think I believe he gave it a 4 out of 5. I personally would have given it a 3.5, just because there were some points in the game that didn't move quite quick enough for me. The main thing that this game does is it takes the original Dragon Quest VII, which, again, like Yakuza 3 is not anybody's favorite in the series. And the main reason why is because the game is just too long. And part of that was because when they were developing this game, Yuji Horii and Enix were still used to Super NES technology, and all of a sudden, now that they were moved to discs on the PlayStation, they realized, wow, there is still a whole lot of room here, and we can totally build more stuff. Anyway, the game was pretty much designed to, play like a chapter a day. That's pretty much how it's been separated. The game is actually done through. It's not really episodic, but like it kind of is, because every island has its own, feel to it, and that's something that Dragon Quest has gone on to do. Since its whole lifespan, everyone has their own culture and whatever it may be, and that part is great. But the main thing was that the maps were huge, and because there were random battles, it just took forever. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined pretty much solves that problem by making the maps smaller, and the maps are smaller because of what Chris mentioned earlier. They look more like dioramas, while the character designs are more akin to like Cabbage Patch dolls and things like that. And I actually like the visual style. What I didn't like was I wasn't a fan of the maps being as small as they were, because for me it just took away a lot of the epic feel to it. Coming off of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, those games felt grand in stature, and even though they added a lot of fluff, at the end of the day, like they just felt like the awesome remastered and definitive versions of that. I would not call Dragon Quest VII Reimagined definitive in any way. I think this game, in an attempt to make it more approachable, has sort of like made it divisive in its own way. But there are definitely some good parts to it. As I mentioned, like this game was originally super super long. Now that it's shorter, or in its current form, I believe you can beat the game in like 30 to 40 hours. And the best part of it, in my opinion, is the fact that the random battles are gone. And this is where it gets a little hazy, because the random battles are gone, but also the auto battler is too good. Like, you can turn on auto battle during a boss and you will win just by watching. You couldn't do that in either of the last 3 Dragon Quest remakes, and they were hard as a result. But this just makes things a little bit too easy. So it's a double-edged sword. If this is your first Dragon Quest, I would totally recommend it, because it totally feels like baby's first RPG in that regard. But if you were trying to get a full real-on Dragon Quest experience, I would not say that this is it. So yeah, that's why I would have arrived on a 3.5 or 7 over that. Moving on, I want to talk about like some previews I've been playing. For Steam Next Fest, I got an early code for Fallen Tier: The Ascension. This game is a Metroidvania that was made in the Philippines, so very much my beat. It is a very beautiful game, and it's also it has a really deep combat system. I played the game or the demo for around 3 hours, and honestly, like, I had to stop myself just because, like, I was so in. I wanted to be able to just play the game for real and really enjoy it. We don't know when the game is going to be out yet, but you guys both know how I feel about demos that don't allow you to move your progress over or things like that. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop here so I can really enjoy it to its fullest later. But yeah, it's definitely solid for what it is. I do think that some of the pacing could be a little bit better, but then again, I'm only playing the prologue, so we'll see how that goes from there. I also recently just published a preview for Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection. Capcom actually already provided us full review code, so I've played the game for over 10 hours, and I'm really impressed with it so far. In my preview, I likened this to pretty much like the Persona 3 of Monster Hunter Stories, because I think this game goes deeper than I ever could have expected. Like, it can be thought of as more than just a spin-off now. My issue with the previous Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter Stories games, is that they just felt a little too focused on kids, whereas this one appears to have like grown with their audience. The story is a little bit more mature, and at the same time, there are gameplay nuances that are substantially more difficult than you would think. That being said, like, nothing is really annoying. If you've played a if you've played a Monster Hunter Stories game before, you'd know about the rock paper scissors battle system. That is very much still in effect, and it's a little bit harder just because you can't really figure out what your opponents are going to do. And on top of that, there are all sorts of other nuances that feel random because they're reliant on how your CPU buddies control their monster and their units. So that's definitely one thing to keep in mind. But yeah, the game actually looks beautiful. I am playing it on Switch too. My main complaint is that it doesn't seem like it's bright enough. I was looking at my screenshots and like they all just seem dark. And then when I watch people's playthroughs of the demo on PS5, like it just looks a whole lot more vibrant. So yeah, if you're somebody who's looking to play the game entirely on TV and you have a PlayStation 5, I would totally recommend it there. But it's definitely right at home on the Switch too if you do want to play it there as well. And then last but not least, I am playing God of War: Sons of Sparta. I have around 2 hours in it, and I'm really liking it so far. It does break a few of my rules as far as Metroidvanias go. Like, the main thing that I'm really annoyed about is the fact that you have to use the control stick in order to traverse. And then the other thing is, for example, climbing a ladder, you have to, like, go towards the ladder and press triangle instead of the jump button. Or when you want to go to lower ground, you have to, again, press down and press the triangle button instead of jump, which is, it kind of unlearns everything you know about Metroidvanias, and that kind of sucks. But going back to the control stick thing, I do understand why they did it, because there are some abilities that you have to use the D-pad to cycle through them, and it makes a whole lot more sense in that regard. But yeah, I've only played the game for a couple hours, so I haven't really scratched the surface yet. I know Chris mentioned that he probably expects the game to be 15, 20, maybe even 30 hours. I'm not quite expecting that yet. I think this will probably take anywhere between 10 and 15, just because, like, a lot of the red orbs that you'll find later on, like, you'll find a whole lot more chests, which allow you to really expand your skill set. So yeah, like just based on that, like I have a lot more than I thought I would at this point in the game. So I do think it will be, a little short, but yeah, we don't know yet. I don't know anybody who's beaten the game yet, so there's that. But yeah, really liking it so far. There are some intricacies to combat that I'm still getting used to, like you can dodge, you can block, but when you first start, all you can really do is stab, and there isn't really much variety there. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying how it's structured. I'm enjoying the story that's being told so far, and it's just really cool seeing Kratos like not be his crazy or dad self yet. Although the game does start with him telling this story to Calliope, but yeah, I'm interested in seeing how like this goes through, and yeah, hopefully we'll report on it some more. But that's about it for me.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you something that will save you some energy. You can change the ladder thing. It's an option in the settings.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so you can use the stick or the jump button to grab onto ladders. It's the same thing for dropping down platforms.
Gotcha. That should help.
And then I don't know what triangle's for after that. I kept thinking it would be like, square for regular attacks, triangle for like a power attack or something, like, the God of War games.
Yeah, triangle is used for like finishing attacks, but that doesn't happen often, so.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a whole stagger system and all that.
Yes.
Again, it has a lot of mechanics. Not all that you have to use constantly, but they're there.
Yeah,
they're
like so far, I would say that it's a fine Metroidvania, but as a God of War game, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. Let's get to some news. First up, as part of the state of play, they talked a little bit about some of the PlayStation Plus game catalog stuff that would be happening for this week, and we'll go through all of it that they've had here. Yeah, for Essential or Extra and Premium, for PS5, they are bringing Marvel's Spider-Man 2 to the service, so you can check that one out. Very good game. Let's see, also for PS5, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, which I'm looking forward to checking that out, because I did not want to buy the game. for that one. So yeah, that's the newest of the Test Drive Unlimited games that had not been touched. Yeah, they say 13 years after the last one, which makes sense. It's one of those games that had some rough launch issues, and that was also part of the reason I didn't want to bother with it. So there's that. For PS5 and PS4, Neva. This is sort of an action adventure game from the team that made Grease. This makes a lot more sense after seeing one of the announcements. They announced a prologue version of, or a sequel, prequel kind of thing for this game. It's like, all right, this makes a lot more sense when people can play this and then jump into that. I believe this is one of those games that's a few hours long, depending on how good you are at the game.
Yeah.
But not one you have to play for too long. For PS5 and PS4, there's Season, A Letter to the Future. This is a really cool, kind of cozy kind of game where you're in this kind of post-apocalyptic kind of thing. I don't know, there's been a big thing that's happened in the world, and you're kind of going, riding your bike between these different areas on this kind of road trip, and you're kind of finding story and all that kind of stuff in these different areas. And learning about, the cultures of the people that lived in these areas and what happened and all that. So that's one to check out. And right before Monster Hunter Stories 3 comes out, they added both Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2 for the PS4. So if you want to play those in lieu of buying the third game at launch, you can. Because I'm sure these are plenty decent long for these kind of games. So there's those. For PS5, Venba. This is a very fun narrative game about immigrants, Indian immigrants to Canada, who are dealing with all the highs and lows of that kind of stuff. So that's a very fun one. If you want something that's also pretty quick, that's maybe 3-4 hours long. I don't think it's too long. For PS5, Echoes of the End Enhanced Edition. I'm not 100% sure what this one is. I think it's probably an action adventure game, maybe RPG as well. So there's that. Also for PS5 and PS4, Rugby 25. If you need some rugby action, there you go. Not sure how good it is, but might be all right. And then for premium, they are adding for the classic game of the month, Disney Pixar WALL-E, the PS2 game. I might play that and just watch the movie and enjoy that. That's probably a decent time for that, because I really like that movie. And sure, why not play a game of it? So there you go for that lineup. Some good stuff there. So anything there you're going to check out, Brandon?
Spider-Man 2 is the most obvious one, because I wanted to play that for a while, but I just didn't have the time or money to do it. Also, Season looks pretty nice, pretty fun too. Yeah, that's about it. I might look at some of the others. But yeah, those two are the ones that are popping out to me.
How about you, Dana?
Yeah, this seems like a pretty cool month. A lot of them are awesome. I've played a lot of these. The only thing that really sticks out to me is Season, primarily because that was a game that I've been looking forward to for a while, and honestly, I didn't even know it came out. So the fact that it's here definitely makes me want to give it a try. I just talked about how I felt about the Monster Hunter Stories games, so if anybody wants to play those in preparation for 3, that's great. Venba is one of my favorite games of this generation, so that's awesome. And I don't know what Echoes of the End is, so I'd probably look it up and then not be interested from there. But yeah, this is a pretty good month, especially with Spider-Man.
So yeah, there's that. And yeah, it's been a few months since the last No Man's Sky update, so they put out a new update. This one's called Remnant, update 6.2. This one is revolving around your multi-tool. Lets you, what they say here, harness the power of gravity. Magnetize, carry, and launch stacks of industrial waste and transport your haul in your off-road Colossus, so they give you a big space truck kind of thing to
Mm-hmm.
drive around. You get custom modules and technologies for that, process salvage. There's a new cross-country expedition for people to join. So yeah. Okay, yeah, this Colossus seems like there's a lot of customization to that.
Mm.
So you could have like a spider tank kind of thing, or something that looks like a an old timey tank, or just a
Mm-hmm.
big truck or whatever. You can kind of customize that a good bit there, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, now they have like a big like gravitino coil they call it, the thing that lets you
Mm-hmm.
pick up stuff from a distance and shoot it around to collect things. So that
Yeah.
looks neat. So yeah, more reasons to keep coming back to that game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And again, they are honestly they are have been really good, and honestly they've pretty much become like the stalwart of actively supporting and improving their game long after it was published. So yeah, I mean it's considering they're still doing that, and they're also doing, I think the game, what was it called, Light No Fire or something like that. They're also doing
yeah.
that game as well. Um, they are very industrious, if nothing else.
So yeah, that is out now for you to check out. Coming up later, no, this will be next week. Zero Parades for Dead Spies has a limited time demo coming
Mm-hmm.
out on PC on February 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like a specialized version of the limited time or the intro that they have here.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it'll be available until March 16th, so you can check that out. And yeah, the weird thing I've seen is the studio is continuing to try to make it seem like this game is from the people that made the first game, and it's like that's definitely not true. There's been
Mm-hmm.
a huge overhaul. Maybe there's some people still left, but that's not the
Yeah.
same. It's like saying, the new Mass Effect's being made by the Mass Effect, the original Mass Effect team, and you're like, no, it's not.
Nope.
Most of those people are gone.
Yeah.
Maybe there's still a few vets, but that's not the same team.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the thing. You can see what Zaum has in store for this. Yeah, I might check that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The Seven Deadly Sins Origin finally has a new date after they delayed
Mm-hmm.
the last one. Supposed to be
Yeah.
towards the end of January. Now it's going to be out March 16th for PS5 and PC. I believe mobile's the week after that. So that one's not too far away. We're checking that one out.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Starship Troopers Ultimate Bug War is
Mm-hmm.
launching on March 16th. I think we have a demo preview on the site for this. This is essentially a Doom-like set in the
Mm-hmm.
Starship Troopers universe. From the team that made, I forget which one of these. I think the Warhammer one,
Mm-hmm.
the Warhammer Doom-like. So yeah. Also, I guess the guy who played Johnny Rico is also in this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's in high quality full motion video. There's that. That looks. Then on March 31st, Legacy of Kain Ascendance was announced. This was announced like shortly after the State of Play, where they announced a remaster of one of the games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I will just throw in this thing. There's a new game coming out. It's like, why didn't you put this in the State of Play?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is on March 31st. PS5, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. It's a 2D action platformer.
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if it's any good, but this is the most excitement that's been going on with the Legacy of Kain series in 20 years or so. They finally got a new game. May not be the one that people would have expected, but it's something. There's that. And then the last date we have here is that Directive 8020, a Dark Pictures game, is finally getting a new date, May 12th. It's supposed to be out last year, and they pushed it, citing that there's more work to be done. And Yeah, console pre-orders are available now and include a free upgrade to the digital deluxe edition, so you can get the better version for no extra cost. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's your new dates there. Anything there you're interested in, Brandon?
I will say Starship Troopers looks pretty neat. And I think I like that, and I've been sort of keeping my eye on that one. Um, Also, Directive 8020 or 8020, whatever. It
Yeah,
also looks pretty interesting, but like, those when it comes to like the dark pictures related stuff, it can be really sort of feast or famine, as far as
yeah.
quality. Some of them are pretty good, some of them are just kind of blah. So, we'll have to see if this ends up being one of the good ones or one of the blah ones.
Right. How about you?
Yeah, the main thing that really stands out from this entire list is Directive 8020, Dark Pictures game. Played a little bit of that one at Summer Game Fest a couple of years ago, but I didn't play enough to decide whether it's for me. The other one that stands out is Legacy of Kain Ascendance. I am like a closet fan of that series. Like I haven't played through any of them, but like I've seen a lot of stuff out of it, and I love the vibe that it gives. And I'm pretty sure like it wasn't on the state of play presentation just because of just because of God of War. But yeah, like this one looks fine.
To some industry news before we get to the state of play. First up, one of the big layoffs was Riot Games laying off around 80 employees from the 2XKO team because the launch did not go well for that game. Not really a huge surprise considering the way they kind of barely announced the release date right before it came out. Because they had that big showing at the Game Awards, but only announced a January release for the game. And then I think about a week before they announced it was coming out, I think like January 26th, something like that, around the same time as Arknight's Enfield, which was on at least two of the platforms that this game came out on, and that game had a much bigger launch than this seemed to have had, and so they're reducing the size of the team because it's not done well having a ton of people on this, and I think Riot Games only has themselves to blame for this, the way they put this out. Everything I've seen, the game itself is pretty good. So maybe fighting games aren't really a great place for free-to-play games. If you don't have an established brand that you're using for that.
Yeah.
Because despite it being tied into League of Legends, that doesn't really mean anything. It's not titled League of Legends. It's titled 2XKO, that you may not even realize is a name for a fighting game. So yeah, it ends up being a shame there, but Riot continues to spend a lot of money and time on things that don't work out, like League and their shooter and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there you go for that one.
Definitely unfortunate to hear this. I dabbled a little bit with 2XKO. Really liked what I played. And like I'm somebody that really, really wants to be a Riot fan. I just don't care about anything that they have, whether it's League of Legends or Valorant. And 2XKO honestly should have been my gateway, and it probably would have gotten there. But yeah, like you mentioned, like fighting games don't really lend themselves out well to be free to play. But the community support really could have been there. But when you're locking behind characters, even though that you can unlock them without spending money, it's rough. And then the other part of that is that while it sucks, at least like Riot was forthcoming with how it happens. Because remember, this game was in development for 10 years, and with its lack of success, it's really hard to support from this point of view. And yeah, other than that, happy to hear that they're getting solid severance packages. But obviously, you want more, especially with what's happening in the industry right now. So hearts go out to them.
Yeah. The next one here comes from Wildlight Entertainment. The makers of Highguard. They have laid off the majority of the staff, all but a core group of developers who are going to continue to support Highguard. Which seems to suggest that they were kind of hoping to have this game do well enough to justify keeping everybody, but ended up not doing that. I don't think it's done terribly, but also the only number that people can look at is on Steam. Because console numbers, who knows? But it seems like it's doing all right. They've done a pretty decent job of reacting to some of the issues people have had, because they've started with a 3v3 mode and they've added a 5v5 within the week of launch. But yeah, here 2 weeks later, having a studio of 100 plus people for a game that's not doing as well as, like, say, Apex Legends when that launched, does not justify keeping that many people on to justify that much salary. So yeah, they've had to make this difficult decision to kind of pare the team down and kind of hope that working with a smaller crew can be what they need to continue to support the game and get it growing. Because yeah, the game has not really hit as much as people would have liked. So, and unfortunately, it also feeds into the social media narrative around that game. Just kind of further keeps that going. So that's unfortunate, and yeah, sad that these people had to be let go. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, another tough story. I dabbled with High Guard. I played like 2 hours, which isn't enough because those games are actually pretty long. And yeah, like, it sucks, just by default. The main thing here is that Wildlight, did a good job, trying to create something new, but at the same time, it's like with everything that surrounded it, from its position in the Game Awards to just being silent and then all of a sudden just coming up out of nowhere, which was probably the strategy anyway. It's just not good enough to be good anymore. You have to be great, and when you go into week 3 of your game with, like, 2,000 people playing, that's not enough and not ideal. That being said, like, I do like that they were agile. Like, a lot of the feedback that came from anybody, like, was worked on, and, like, it's rough seeing Wildlife just cut the cord so early. That being said, like, there is some semblance of a chance of it to come back. But the problem is, with this layoff, we don't know how many people were actually affected. There definitely are people, posting about it on LinkedIn with their support for one another. I do know that their community manager lost her job, so I don't know what they plan on doing from there. And a game like this needs a community manager, so I don't know what's going to happen. But hopefully it's for the best, and I'm saying that as someone that knows quite a few people on this staff. But yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, it's rough from the sense that I also took a chance on this on my fantasy team, but just that's neither here nor there. But yeah, also we published our review for this game last week. We gave it a 4, and primarily because we definitely see the hard work that the devs were doing. So seeing that people were laid off 4 days after the review went up is just rough. And I hope these people all land on their feet. They're obviously very, very talented, coming from Respawn and whatnot. So hopefully they can find a new place somewhere.
Yeah, there's that. And then our next, and I think the final layoff story here, involving 10 Chambers, the devs of GTFO and the upcoming Den of Wolves, a sort of frequent appearance on the Jeff Keighley shows. Even before they are seemingly anywhere close to launch, they have laid off a number of people, as well as part of the co-founders group. Yeah, the way they describe it here is the layoffs will impact a large number of employees, and that they must reorganize in order to position their upcoming shooter for success. Which seems to suggest that game is not coming along as smoothly as they were. You don't do a bunch of layoffs of a team working on a big game like this because everything's going well. So that game must have reached some sort of milestone. Did not look like it was anywhere close to where they were hoping it would be. had to figure out what the next step is going to be. That seems to involve getting people from the studio to save money or whatever. They must be doing a lot of significant rework of the game and not needing a ton of people to just generate assets or whatever for the game. So I don't know. But that's not great to see for a game that's I feel like would be expecting to come out sometime this year or maybe early next year. But yeah, that's sad to see. They do mention Ulf Anderson and Simon Viklund are going to be remaining with the team, but a number of the other co-founders have had to leave. So yeah, when the co-founders are being let go, that's how you know it's not. So yeah, there you go for that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Then we'll get to the weirdest news of the week. Build a Rocket Boy continues to be in the news because they don't. It's not like they have a good game to rally around.
Yeah, seriously.
But it seems like the management there has decided to install surveillance software on the work PCs without their employees' knowledge. Seems like people figured this out, and we're talking about it in the Slack. It's called Terramind. They found on their machines. This was only found out after staff noticed in January that their hardware was slower than usual, impacting the performance of software essential to game development, like Maya and other things. The management only admitted to installing this software after the fact and asked staff to sign an updated IT privacy policy. And so, yeah, it seems like the part of this is they're still obsessed with the saboteur claims that Leslie Benzies and I guess some of the other management believe in. Because they say here management trusts most of its staff. It's the 1% that is the problem. They said that the studio hopes to remove the tech within 3 months, with the caveat that this was directly linked to Mind's Eye's success. I guess on this same call, claimed without evidence that, quote, a very big American company had spent over 1 million euros in 2025 committing criminal activity against BARB. This is the saboteur stuff. This took the form of paying UK influencer agency Ritual Network, as well as 3 unnamed journalists and some BARB employees to damage the company. All these parties were set to receive in-person criminal complaints shortly, which I believe somebody talked to Ritual Network, and they're like, we don't know what the hell they're talking about. So yeah, they're in a hell of a place right now. This game bombed. I don't think there's any way to work their way out of it.
Yeah.
Because they've made improvements, but it's not substantial improvements. It's more like it runs better, but it's not a fun game in any way. Here it is, the comment from Ritual Network. Ritual Network is a creator support platform and is not involved in the matter you reference. We're not aware of any legitimate legal action involving Ritual Network and have not been provided with any evidence supporting these claims. Any suggestion that Ritual Network is connected to these allegations is incorrect. It's very boilerplate, like, we don't know what's going on here, but we've not seen anything presented to us. So that's where Build a Rocket Boy is at the moment.
Yeah, and then we got this last little piece of news before we go to the state of play, because, and just before we tell you this, just to let you know, the backlash to this has been immense, and Discord has been trying to put out the fire very badly.
Discord is going to be requiring age verification for full access to servers and channels. It's either going to be a face scan or government IDs being scanned to verify the age of users, which is under the guise of protecting the teens, even though this will not do any of that. The weird thing is they have backtracked to a degree. People have claimed that work for them, they're like, oh, most people won't even have to do any of this. they'll somehow be able to figure out, based on whatever you've done with your account, whether you're adult or not, which I feel like people in the EU that have dealt with this have heard this before and said like there was not much of any of that actually happened. So yeah, the things you'll miss out on are really pretty minor. It seems like there's like some DM stuff you'll miss out on, but mostly involving people you're not friends with. Any age gated channels on the Discords you use will not be accessible, which hopefully you don't have any of those. And I think any age-gated specific discords will also be not accessible. Those would sound like stuff involving, Patreons and OnlyFans and that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know what you're in for if you're dealing with that kind of stuff. And so yeah, they were using one particular servicer for the verification stuff that they claimed was also going to be only done on your device and would not involve any data being sent out. That was then had some link to Palantir, the Peter Thiel company. If you don't know him, he's like the other side of the Elon Musk stuff. Both
Yeah.
Founders of PayPal.
Yeah, the PayPal Mafia, as they've been called.
And he helped bankroll the lawsuit from Hulk Hogan that took down Gawker. And is not shy at all about talking about his views on society and democracy and all that kind of fun stuff that are not good at all. So great stuff. So, but the Discord stuff here, we'll have to see what ends up being the thing that happens here, because it seems like they're going to end up going through with this. But what form it takes, who knows? But I would definitely say don't give up your scans right away. See what the process is, because I know like in the UK when they were doing some of this stuff, people were able to just literally show random pictures of faces from the internet to get approved. And so I'm wondering if that kind of stuff will work here. Who knows? But so there you go. There's your Discord news. And we'll move on from that and go to the state of play, which had a bunch of stuff to talk about. I feel like in kind of contrast to the Nintendo Direct last week, which was full of a lot of games where if you have only been on Nintendo over the last 10 to 15 years, that was a great Direct. But if you've had, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, you've played a lot of those games already. Whereas here, there's a lot of new stuff here. And a lot of interesting stuff as well. So, let's see. They started off with a banger. We got Kena, Scars of Cosmora, the sequel to the first Kena game. That was a very fun game, but also for the way it looked, was a much tougher game than you would have expected. Be more in the vein of a Souls game instead of a Zelda game for that, but that's out later this year for PS5 and PC. They didn't look like they've improved a lot of aspects of that game for that, so there's that. Let's see, we got Ghost of Yote's Legends DLC that adds the big 4-player multiplayer mode. Will be out March 10th. So that's not too far away. For some of that. Death Stranding 2 is coming to PC March 19th, so you can check that out. For Loop, they showed some more of this and said that they're going to be doing some beta stuff in the near future, so you can go onto the PlayStation beta thing and signal your interest to get in. So they'll be doing some testing there. Pragmata, we got a demo out now on PS5. That's still out April 24th. Got to see some more gameplay of that. That's looking pretty good. I've not played the demo yet, but that's looking pretty good. We had a new trailer for Resident Evil Requiem. Really not much to say. It's still out on the 27th. And let's see. Yeah, then we got Legacy of Kain Defiance Remastered. I believe
Yeah.
this is the last of the Legacy of Kain games. PS2 game that they are remastering for everything. PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, Switch 2, and PC. Yeah, this is the one that you kind of play as both Kain and Raziel. It's kind of a pretty straightforward, like, action-adventure kind of game for that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're going to have higher def visuals. It doesn't seem like they're doing a ton to like make it look like a completely new game. It's like it's gonna look better, run better, and all that with some new stuff added to it, but not really a ton there. But that's out March 2nd. Yeah, let me see here. We had Brigandine Abyss, an RPG that apparently is part of a long-running series, but I don't think I've ever really heard of these. From Happy Nets, though this one's being published by NIS America in the West. That'll be out later this year. PS5, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. Those are big like anime game there. Let's see, Dead or Alive 6 Last Round for PS5, Xbox, and PC. That's out June 25th. Seems to be, a new version of that. Whether it's the Ultimate version, it's got some work cut out for it for PR side, because it seems like fans are kind of questioning what all is being done here. And I've seen Phil and Pat talking about that they didn't immediately talk about rollback net code and that kind of stuff on this. But this is a free-to-play game. Initially, you can pay for like $40 for a bunch of, if not most of the content, at least character contents. I'm sure they'll sell season passes of costumes for way too much money, like they did for DOA 5, I think it was.
Yep.
$130 for a bunch of costumes. There you go. They also announced the new games coming, and you can tell it was a DOA game because they never got above the lady's like mouth when they were scanning up her. Show how next gen it was. Just let you know what they care about. For that, so yeah, that's at least PS5. I assume Xbox and PC at least. But it seems like that's just started being worked on. We'll see where that goes. We got to see more Control Resonance. Not really too much else to add there. It's out later this year. Then we got to see Crimson Moon. What looks like a new Metroid-y kind of game, from what it seemed like. Or no, this is more third person. This is kind of all over the place, but looks neat. That's out later this year. Then we got Beast of Reincarnation. Got a date of August 4th.
And honestly, I've got my eye on this one because this is probably the best looking game that Game Freak has worked on to date. And it's a completely different development team that has nothing to do with the Pokemon games. So
yeah, there's that. Got Rayman 30th Anniversary Edition. They got announced and it came out on Friday. That's on everything. Seems like a good collection, but the music is kind of the big thing that's changed. Unfortunately, the composer of the original game passed away a handful of years ago. So I wonder if there's estate stuff with that, but the new soundtrack is done by the guy that did the music for Rayman Legends and Origins. So not a slouch there, but it's different. So a lot of people are like, it's trash. I have not played enough of the original Rayman to know the soundtrack in and out. But it would have been nice to have the original soundtrack as well. So yeah, they have the MS-DOS version, PlayStation, Atari Jaguar, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and a Super Nintendo prototype. Because it was developed on Super Nintendo for a bit before they moved it to PlayStation. I believe it was specifically the Super Nintendo CD-ROM system, which then turned into the PlayStation. There's that. That's also a digital clips game, so they have a bunch of documentary stuff in there, interviews and all that, so that part of it seems pretty cool. Let's see, then we got Mina the Hollower. No date on it, but it'll be out in the spring in the PS5, version has a demo now. People check out. That still looks really good. They're throwing around numbers of screens and such. They're throwing out there to brag about how much content is in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have your work cut out for you to beat that game.
Mm.
And yeah, as I mentioned, Neva made a lot more sense being on PlayStation Plus when they announced Neva Prologue, a sort of prequel to that game. That is out on February 19th for $3. So that's kind of neat to have like a fairly cheap like bonus content for this game. So you can see some more of that. So that seems pretty cool. Then we got the most Tenchu-ass game of the showcase, Yako Shinobi Ops from Shueisha Games and Acquire. Co-op stealth action game for PS5 and PC that's out in 2027, so next year. That looked pretty cool. And so we got Project Windless, probably the biggest surprise here from Crafton and their new Montreal studio. Are making this weird game that looks like almost like a Dynasty Warriors-esque kind of game, but with a big chicken man.
Yep.
I guess it's based on a Korean fantasy novel series, The Bird That Drinks Tears.
Yep.
That we all know
They're
about.
actually publishing the first volume in English this summer.
Yeah. This will be out at a later date. No date announced. PS5 and PC so far. That was the most striking thing. Let's see. Star Wars Galactic Racer, still out later this year. They basically showed off gameplay that looks like what if you mixed Star Wars Pod Racing with Burnout, and then had one of the goofy drivers from Episode 1 showed up. I forget what his name is. He shows up right at the end, so there's that. That looks pretty cool. They showed off some more 007 First Light that looks good. That's still out May 27th. Then we start getting into the Konami block because they decided this was where they wanted to announce a bunch of stuff. And then we got the announcement of Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 for PS5, Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. This is the collection that brings us Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, and the HD collection version of Peace Walker, as well as Ghost Babel is also included as a bonus. So yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4 finally getting off of the PS3. People are very concerned about the PS3 stuff that's in that game, and it's like they'll just leave it as is. No point really changing it. But that'll be cool. That is a really good game. It's also the silliest Metal Gear game because it has so many different sections that change kind of the focus of what you're doing.
And it also has notoriously probably the single longest ending in video game history.
Yeah.
Holy shit. But yeah, it is loaded with like, I say fan service, but not the kind of fan service most people say when they say fan service. It is loaded with so many references and callbacks. It's crazy.
Yeah. That ending is long because they are trying to wrap up every storyline they can in Metal Gear Solid. And they mostly do it. Then they decided to make Metal Gear Solid 5. So yeah. That's out August 27th. Towards the end of the summer. That'll be fun. Especially hope they have the commentary podcast that they put out in the game. That they eventually stopped allowing to be accessible because they had to pull, online support for that game. Put that in because that is essentially like, commentary just done as a podcast form that you would listen on the in-game iPhone or iPod on that. So that'd be cool for people to be able to check out.
Yeah.
They also put out an update for the first volume because I think Metal Gear Solid 1 and 3 got updated with higher resolution support, and there's a Switch 2 upgrade, or Switch 2 update for Volume 1. So I think all of those games can run at 60 FPS now. If you have a Switch 2. If you have a regular Switch, I believe you're still stuck at 30. But those updates are out now. Then they had a hard transition into Darwin's Paradox from there. They seem like they have like a Metal Gear Solid level or something in that game. That is the like weird stealth action adventure platformer thing with a squid. I think it's a squid. Yeah. Wait. 1, 2,
Yeah.
Yeah, 6.
No, is it a squid or an octopus? I can't.
They show 6 on this image, so.
So it's got to be a squid then.
Yeah. If it's an octopus, this is scientifically wrong and boycott the game and put this company out of business.
Yeah.
But they put out a demo on at least PS5. I don't know what other platforms may have it now. But yeah, that's out April 2nd. $25. That looks really good. Just because it's the one game here, well, one of two that are not tied to any previous Konami property. Let's see. We got Castlevania Belmont's Curse for PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. That's out later this year. This is coming from Motion Twin and Evil Empire, the Dead Cells developers, and that came through pretty clear in how this looked. It looks really good. I don't think it looks like a Castlevania game. It looks like a Dead Cells game, and I think that's the issue I have with this. Because everything I got here, it's got really busy environmental visuals going on, a lot of extra like effects on the attacks and all that in a way that looks like, Dead Cells to me. Does not really have any of the visual style of a Castlevania. I know they're trying to go for a super flashy kind of thing, but yeah, this trailer just kind of like stuck out to me as like, this looks like a completely different thing. Even though I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a Metroid kind of game. They showed a map and that looked like a thing you're doing if you're having, the Symphony of the Night style thing versus the NES style games. But who knows? We still don't have that many details. Could also be a roguelite. Let's see. Then we got Silent Hill Downfall. That's one of the trio that they announced a handful of years ago of games. This is the one with Annapurna Interactive involved with it. I think set in the UK. So yeah, that's Scotland. So that looks interesting. Set in a place that naturally gets foggy. Then the last of the cast, the Konami games was a game called Rev Noir, which to me looked like a Tales of game. Very anime.
You're not the only person I've heard say that it really did look like a Tales game of some kind.
They're like, well, they're not making Bandai's not making one that we know of. They're bringing the other one to Switch too. Busy with that. We'll make it. Fuck them. We'll do it. So there's that. No date on it yet. PS5 is the only version that's been announced so far, but I assume it'll come to everything. And yeah, the game's produced by Nobuki Kadoi, who worked on games like Dragon Card 2, Gunslinger Stratos, and Lord of Vermilion. That's Square Enix, so those is RPGs. So yeah, there you go for that one. Let's see. Yeah, then we got another nice surprise, a John Wick game featuring Keanu Reeves as he is fucking shit up throughout this, beating people up, shooting them, busting through environments. So if that ends up working out as well as it looked here, that'd be pretty cool. Keanu's in it. What's his face? The director, Chad Stahelski, is also working on it, so that seems like that should be pretty cool. Let's see. Show off more Marathon. That's on March 5th. They have a server slam February 26th to the March 2nd. So you can check it out ahead of launch. See if you want to check it out. And then, they announced some premium game catalog stuff for PS Plus. Particularly for March, it's going to be Tekken Dark Resurrection for the PSP, which is the version of that game that has a ton of single player content in it. So if you're wondering why it's that instead of like the PS3 version came out, it's because that PS3 version was tied into a movie thing, like barely had any single player content in it. It was like mostly multiplayer thing, so you don't want that version. And then May, it's going to be Time Crisis for the PS1, which I didn't really know was on PS1. But they're also adding gyro support. You can use your the gyro on your controller as the light gun. It seems like that should work pretty well for that. And yeah, hell yeah, Time Crisis. Time Crisis is cool. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, then on the subject of PS Plus stuff, Big Walk is coming to the PS5 and will be on the PS Plus Essential lineup, the monthly lineup at launch. Whenever that is. I still haven't announced the date, but that should be pretty cool. That game looks really good.
Yeah.
Then we got to see more Saros. That's out April 30th. That looks good. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls is coming out August 6th. And that is looking good. It's going to have 20 fighters at launch, which seems like a pretty solid number. They announced new characters that are X-Men, and specifically the Unbreakable X-Men.
Yep.
Which means Storm, Magic, Wolverine, and a character called Danger that is essentially like the essence of the Danger Room in a robot form.
Basically, the software that runs the Danger Room sort of gains sentience and gets a humanoid form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I believe that happened at some point.
It did. You can see it on the Marvel and Encyclopedia.
And then they ended on God of War with T.C. Carson announcing that they're doing a trilogy remake of the original God of War stuff, the 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Which could be really cool. That third game looked incredible. I don't know how you make it look any better. I'm sure they will. Yeah, 1 and 2 could certainly use a good overhaul visually, even though those games look good for their time as well. But those were PS2 games. God of War 3 was very much like the game of that generation that you're like, this looks incredible, especially a lot of the scale stuff they did. Even that first big fight in the game. But yeah. And then, as we mentioned, Sons of Sparta released right after the show.
Yep.
Which is good. So check that out. And that's the state of play. A lot of fun stuff here. So, Brandon, what here?
Well, let's see. Pragmata is a game I've kind of had my eyes on for a little bit, and it's getting increasingly more interesting as more is revealed. Obviously, Mina the Hollower is one of the big ones. They are finally bringing that game out. About freaking time. But weirdly enough, Project Windless, I was like, yeah, I got to see more of this because this is just an amazingly crazy idea for a game. Control Resonant is definitely one because I loved the first Control. It was a fantastic game. I really liked it. Let's see. Saros is definitely another game I'm keeping my eye on because, I loved Returnal. And I want to play another one of games like that. And it looks like they're kind of trying to take sort of the complaints that people had with the first Returnal and are directly addressing them. And obviously, Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls is a pretty big one for me as well because, its Arc system works. They almost exclusively make gold when it comes to fighting games. And I'm loving the art direction. I'm loving the fact that Marvel is loosened up enough that they're letting people, who are doing their Marvel games kind of play around with the designs of these characters, where there's still definitely those characters, but they play enough with their costumes and stuff that, they're very easy to recognize, but still unique. And yeah, that's about it. They had some pretty good stuff that they showed for this one.
How about you?
What about you, Dan?
Yeah, this actually might have been my favorite state of play There were definitely things that weren't for me, a lot for me. I love starting it off with Kina, Scars of Cosmora. Granted, we didn't see a lot of it. I am really, really hoping that the game feels more like a PS5 game than it does a PS2 game, but there's no denying its beauty. It looks awesome. You guys already know that Pragmata is probably my most anticipated game of the like go over that too much. Beast of Reincarnation, as Brandon talked about earlier, is like everything that Game Freak should not be capable of doing, but they clearly are, and it looks really, really special. Mina the Hollower is always going to be a highlight. Yako Shinobi Ops kind of disappointed me because I thought it would be Tenchu. I'm like, just make Tenchu, guys. That's what we really want. Star Wars Galactic Racer also was a huge surprise. Well, not surprise, but that's definitely one that I had my eyes on ever since we saw it in Game Awards. And the entire Konami block, honestly, like was awesome to me. I bought a PS3 for Metal Gear Solid 4, and I never even played it. So that this will definitely give me my chance here. Peace Walker is one of the best games in the entire series, so that's definitely a good pack. I like Darwin's Paradox more than most people do. That demo is out now, and I really, really enjoy it. Castlevania, being back is great. I definitely want to see Phil jump on that one whenever we get a chance. So that one should be cool. And then Rev Noir, that looked nice, but at the same time, it's Konami. Like I thought we'd be getting, not thought. I more wished we got a Suikoden, but it is what it is there. And again, like I thought this whole thing was pretty cool. Big Walk was a game shown in multiple indie showcases, and I didn't think it would come to PlayStation. So all of a sudden, it coming to the Essential lineup is a pretty good surprise. And then ending with God of War is always nice. I know a lot of people are like, we don't really need the original trilogy, but at the same time, it's like I have a lot of friends who don't like the modern take as much as they did the originals. And sure, like Kratos is definitely super toxic in those, but that doesn't take away from the fun that they were. And then ending with God of War: Sons of Sparta being shadow dropped was definitely cool. I know it was rumored, and I know a lot of people like have issues with the way it looks. That's not me, and as I mentioned so far, like I'm really enjoying the game. That like this is easily like the best state of play that was not your usual or not usual your PlayStation Presents, and hopefully we have some more stuff coming out later this year.
Yeah, I think that will do it for the show this week. Thank you to Dan Rib and Brandon for joining this week. We'll be back next week with our final show of the month. As is the great part of February, is it's 4 weeks and we're out. Does not fuck around. Let me see what else we got coming this month here. Dates here. Okay. Yeah, we got Death Howl, Demon Tides for the PC, Showgunners, and Styx Blades of Greed are out on the 19th. And that Wizman's World Retry.
Yeah.
Ezek's Proud Nordics is out on PS5, Switch 2, and PC on the 20th. It's mostly it for this week. Next week is Tides of Tomorrow, No Sleep for Kaname Date from AI, the Somnium Files, Tokyo Extreme Racer, Resident Evil Requiem, and Tales of Berseria Remastered. So, yeah. Got some neat stuff still coming. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you have a good week ahead. We will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Bye.
See ya.